The moment you stop personalizing student behavior is the moment teaching becomes lighter. Because let's face it, when somebody's ignoring you, talking back, or just saying crazy stuff, it can feel like disrespect. But this is what I want to tell you today. Most behavior that we see is not disrespect. It's environmental and neurological. Because class sizes are getting larger and budget cuts are also having an effect, there's typically not an aide in the classroom, and you typically have more than 25 and sometimes more than 30 students in the classroom. And let's think about it. At that point, you have a nervous system mismatch. You have one teacher who's regulated, and you might have 30 to 40 students who are dysregulated. So they're responding to their environment. And typically when they misbehave, they're not thinking, oh, wait, let me disrespect the teacher and challenge the teacher. They're just responding to the chaos that's going on in the classroom. And if you respond emotionally, that's when you get pulled into that same state. And that's when things escalate. So in our last video, we talked about developmental brain lag, which just means that not all students are at the same level emotionally, especially with our neurodiverse populations nowadays, where you have mostly typically developing students, but you're increasingly having more students demonstrating characteristics of both ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, as well as autism spectrum disorders. And as a result, you have different students at different levels of emotional regulation, of flexibility, of frustration tolerance. So if you treat them all the same way, you're not going to get the same results. And these students also are not thinking, let me disrespect the teacher. They're just responding to their internal systems. And when their internal systems are dysregulated, you may get behavior that appears to be disrespect when it's really just, I don't have the skill yet. Now, most teachers have not been taught the skill to spot that difference because most teacher training programs don't have the time to go that deep. It's not a criticism. It's just I'm pointing out what exactly is happening in here. So you do have other professionals on your campus that can assist with this. Psychologists, counselors, therapists. Lean on your systems, lean on those people for support, and you'll have a much easier time not only understanding what's going on in the classroom, but also responding to it. There's also a reinforcement cycle going on, and this one is more environmental. So for example, if a student has been reinforced and they've gotten what they wanted in the past for a certain behavior, they're going to continue to do it again. Like we said in previous videos, people behave where the reinforcement is, not because they personally want to destroy you. So when you think that it might be personal or disrespect, what they've learned is a reinforcement cycle. Well, in this situation, if I do this, I can get this attention, or I can escape this task, or I can get access to this tangible item or activity. So really think about it next time and try to identify what is reinforcing that student's behavior in the environment before you think that they're just out to destroy. So think about this. Emotional attachment is natural. These are your students. You care for them and you see them sometimes more than their own family. But just because you have an emotional attachment doesn't mean that you have to take every behavior emotionally and personally. You also have to learn how to detach on a certain level so that you can respond appropriately. Because when you do it that way, you stay in control of your body, you stay in control of your actions, and you can stay in control of your responses. And that will keep you from escalating, and that will keep your class from escalating. So what do you want to do if you want to keep from burning out? The first thing you must do is learn to pause before you personalize. And that simply means taking a moment to observe before responding. You can think to yourself, is this a performance deficit or is this a skill deficit? You can also think, is this one of my typically developing children or is this one of my neurodivergent children? And you can also think, what in this environment is reinforcing this problem behavior? Those will give you a much clearer picture of how to respond as opposed to just responding and reacting emotionally. So just make sure you take a quick pause before you react. That way you don't personalize. The next thing you want to do is regulate first and respond second. If you respond and react emotionally as soon as the behavior happens, you're typically going to respond out of character. You might say something that you say at home when you're comfortable, and you might regret it. So one way to stay in control of that is to just control your responding by thinking about what's going on, kind of like we talked about in the previous suggestion. But that will save you a lot of headache, save you a lot of mistakes, and a lot of pain. As you regulate yourself, another question you want to ask yourself is, what are my vitals doing? Think about your breathing. At that point, you can take a deep breath, which will change the situation. You can tell if your heart is beating too fast. That'll let you know if you need to be responding now or not. Check your armpits, check your face, check the areas where you usually sweat, because if you're starting to sweat and perspire, you're also knowing that your body is getting a little bit more tense, a little bit more worked up, and that may not be the best time to respond. So you can do this simply by stopping, taking a deep breath. And a lot of people often ask me, well, they're acting like this in a certain time, and I just want the behavior to stop right then. And that there's no magic trick to get the behavior to stop immediately. So that's the first thing we need to understand. But you can think about it as it's happening, and you can think about what's going on in your body. That way you can regulate yourself simply by breathing deeply, grabbing a glass of water if you need to, and maybe even getting up to just move around. That way you get your blood flowing and everything else starts to regulate, and that way you can respond appropriately. And last thing, protect your energy. You are not going to last in teaching if you take every single behavior personally. Now, this is advanced classroom psychology. So whatever you need to do to get ready in the morning, whether it's putting on your certain stones or putting on a good luck charm, whatever routine you need to go throughout the day, getting your coffee, drinking your water, getting your steps in, do those things that help you emotionally, spiritually, and physically, because they will help ward off any bad energy and any lingering energy that may impact your ability to make good decisions and respond appropriately. So if you can protect your energy, you're well on your way to have a long, long-lasting career. So here's the truth. Student behavior is information, not a death wish on you. So you don't have to take it personally, but you can read the information that you get so that you can respond appropriately. That'll keep you from getting too emotionally involved, too attached, and responding in a way that may be uncharacteristic for you. By doing this, you keep yourself calm, cool, collected, and you keep your longevity, and you won't burn out. So if this information has been invaluable for you, if you found that you can share this with other people, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you stay abreast of all the information that we're putting out just for you. So, as always, we hope you learned some valuable information, and stay tuned.